It being 6:01, we will call this meeting of the RMLD Board of Commissioners to order.
Yeah, we call the CAB meeting to order.
Thank you. The meeting is being audio recorded, held remotely on Zoom, and live streamed on RCTV. The RMLD Board of Commissioners recognizes the importance of hearing public comment at the discretion of the chair on items on the official agenda. Once recognized by the chair, all persons addressing the board shall state their name and address prior to speaking. It's the role of the chair to maintain order in all public comment or ensuing discussion. We have no remote participants. Do we have any public comment? Okay. Hi, Rebecca. Can you hear us? You can go ahead.
Rebecca, you should be allowed to talk now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just wanted to make a comment on the issue of retiring certificates that are related to that chart in attachment 2. I see that we haven't increased our percentage of renewable power or retired more certificates since 2024 when we went to 55% power from non-fossil fuel sources. I was wondering if we could make a push to increase it because I saw that to get to 60% would only cost 20 cents per month on the average customer bill, if I'm reading that correctly. And so why couldn't we go up to add $1? I mean, our National Grid doesn't seem to have a problem raising our delivery charges. So it just seems like to position ourselves to be less reliant on fossil fuels, which, you know, when a hurricane knocks out a refinery or it just is going to insulate us against supply chain issues. And it's also the right thing to do. We have very high per capita emissions in Reading, and I really wish we would see more aggressive action to reduce our use of fossil fuels. And in that same vein, I wondered if you could provide some kind of incentive for people to join the time of use program and to shred the peak. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments. As you noted, some of those topics on the agenda tonight, so we'll be talking about them more. Any other public comment? Okay, great. One quick note, we are trying something new and trying to be as efficient as we can with the time in the session, especially given we have so many topics and so many presenters who are not always here for the full meeting. So I'm going to do my best to keep us on time schedule today. If we need additional time, that's fine. We can decide to extend time for an important purpose, but letting folks know I'm going to be just keeping an eye on the clock for our discussions. See how it goes.
We do have a hand raised.
Thank you. Please go ahead. Joseph White.
Yes, Joseph White. I'm in Reading on Prescott Street. I'm wondering if you can tell me what the main resources are for renewable energy that RMLD is using and what the state mandates are.
You want to just provide a very brief?
Yeah, just high level, hydro, wind, solar, and nuclear.
We're using nuclear?
Yes, that's the biggest portion of our portfolio is nuclear at the moment. And that's considered non-carbon, so it meets the state mandate. The state mandate is 50% by 2030, was it 75% by 2040 and 100% by 2050.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Vivek.
Okay. So, Jason, congratulations on your role as GM. But on behalf of the CAB, I'd like to thank you for your service of 8 years, great service to the CAB. So, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, liaisons to Board of Commissioners and CAB. Any town liaisons? Nobody, I don't see the board of, select board here. Do you have any updates on any relevant meetings?
I don't have any specific updates on the town charters passed. No new action going to be there, and I won't comment on it further unless there's something specific, but I think that's on a 10-year hiatus at this point, unless something specific comes up. And I haven't heard anything new on the schools for Reading. Both I think are in engineering design. And so they're drawing drawings and printing plans, and as soon as those get approved, then they'll start doing construction and maybe go back and look at energy again. Megan probably has had more contact with them, or if not, maybe that's the status that they're doing their engineering.
All right, so we'll move to the marketing update.
Thank you, Pam. In the interest of time, and I know you've all seen the slides prior to tonight, I'll just go through at a high level what the year looked like and what our plans are. The plans are very loose at this point, just to give Jason a little bit of time to get settled in and to form some solid goals, and then we can build some marketing around those goals as well. But a lot of the stuff doesn't change from what we've been trying to do over the last year and keep things going, keep engaged with the community. So just very quickly, it was a really great year. It was very busy. The team of me grew to a team of we. We added a marketing coordinator who has been fantastic. She's hit the ground running. She's a Reading resident, so it's really nice to have someone in the community as well. We extended the brand. We finished the logo and website projects finally. We grew some engagement across channels, nice and slow and steady, which is what I want to see. I want to see that slow roll throughout our socials. We still have some really nice feedback from folks in person at events out in the community. We were able to increase the amount of events we were at. We were able to push forward with events that had been dropped the year prior, like the EV show. We were able to partner with local businesses like the Reading Co-ops. There was a lot of really nice organic connections within the community. We are really excited about the results of the customer survey. We got positive trust and positive satisfaction results at 98%. We got a lot of good information in there that we're kind of still pulling through and picking through as far as how to address with programs or resources for customers within the community. And our biggest push has been that engagement piece, getting out into the community, hosting events here, having webinars and resources for all different segments of our audience.
Just on that,
Oh, yes.
when you talk community, you give examples of Reading examples. Are there other towns that you're also
Yes.
engaging with? So
Yes, absolutely. So I'll give some key just community engagement pieces. I'll start with Reading, but we did a safety program with the Reading Fire Department where we had all of their shifts in-house and hosted them internally. We partnered with Wilmington Cub Scout groups to do a kind of workshop with them. We brought in our metering teams, the IRD team, as well as the line team to come in and do demonstrations. They got to see all of those facets of our business. That went over really well. Both of those serve as pilots. So now we can extend those out. We're reaching out to North Reading for the EMS services, and we're reaching out to other Cub Scout and Girl Scout troops in our territory. We connected with the North Reading Sustainability Committee in last spring. We were able to go to one of their events and connect with other events in North Reading, including Riverfest, which we had never attended before. I mentioned the EV show, which was hosted in Wilmington. It involved a lot of collaboration with Wilmington, and then unbeknownst to us, ended up involving collaboration with their field hockey team because we were double booked and we just partnered with them to make it work. So that was really fun and actually was a nice connection. The Reading Co-op I mentioned, we have started reaching out to senior centers within our territories to do some educational resource, educational workshops. So we are finally nailing down the Linfield Senior Center to be our first pilot. So we're trying to spread it around to all of the communities, pilot these programs, and then organically push them out to the other communities as well. Is that Thank you. Great question. This gives kind of an overview of what I would consider pieces that I'm feeling really good about completing in 2025. Again, being a small team, being a very busy year, with a lot going on in our territory and internally. We were able to finish that logo project. We were able to bring the brand to the website and the digital properties. We were able to partner with Reading Co-op and promote the loan program successfully. We were able to host a large-scale event at the River Park ribbon cutting, including many state representatives and lots of good press from that. We were able to reach to the community organizations that I just mentioned. We grew the team with adding another person, which we know takes time and energy. Internally, we've done a lot of housekeeping, updating our internal events calendar, launching the portal with the IRD team and promoting that out to customers and slowly onboarding them onto that. And then finishing the segmentation and satisfaction surveys. And then in progress, ongoing, but still fairly, strong in the completion category is that website update and implementing the analytics, which took longer than we planned, but we've got it in place now. And so we can start tracking and start looking at how folks are using the website. Finalizing all of that brand rollout. We're pretty much in that end stage, which is where we're looking at things that, that kind of being cautious of the costs and when they need to be replaced, things like signage and the trucks and all of those. So you'll start to see those things start to turn over in the next year. The community organization piece we talked about, the AMI rollout, the beginning promotion of that began at the end of the year, and we're continuing. Megan and I are working together on that as far as how to inform the community, keep the website updated so people understand when it's happening and where. The energy programs are always a continued promotion, pushing connected homes and Shred the Peak and all of those pieces, as well as our rebate and incentive programs. And then we've just started working on customer testimonials. The IRD team has got a wonderful testimonial from a solar commercial customer who leveraged our rebate as well as other incentives. And we just put that up on our website today. So we'll start to promote that and use it as a model to build other testimonials. And then looking at the future, really growing all of that, the program promotion, the education, workshops, still focusing on that slow and steady positive social growth, continuing our internal housekeeping, looking through our operational procedures, making sure that we're operating efficiently. Again, being only 2 people with a lot to do, we need to make sure we're working harder, I'm working smarter, not harder. And then really looking into customer resources development. We want to see a focus on new customers. We are able to give them some internal or quick touches like our welcome email when they're loaded into our system, but maybe we could do more. Can we welcome them through realtors or other partners when they're buying a home in one of our territories? Or can we have special resources for them as you're new to the territory? What does that mean for you? If they've been an Eversource customer, they're not thinking of us in the way that they could be. We're so much more of a resource than that. So kind of targeting them as well. And some of the reactions that we saw in the survey was around how people wanted to be communicated and look for the information that we provide. And a lot of it was email and website as we thought in general web searches, but there was enough of a push for traditional mail communications, and we have an older customer base. So maybe looking at some segmented communications to make sure that our message is getting out. We did a postcard for the AMI rollout, a great response. A lot of people signing up for our newsletter from that, as well as for updates from that too. So, and then continuing the events. The events are big, being out in the community. People like to see us out there. And I know there's a lot of other information in the deck, so I don't know if there's anything anyone wants to ask questions about or me to just jump to go through.
Just a few questions.
Yeah, of course.
So I spent some time on your website, looked at some of the links.
Mm-hmm.
So what you may want to do is check what the links point to.
Mm-hmm.
For example, there was something on utilities that points to an EPA website, but it's actually a water website. The EPA water utilities website, it's not electricity. So, those kind of things you may just want to, they may have changed some things, or so please,
Absolutely.
because there was because I went
Mm-hmm.
as a customer, I was looking for information. I tried to mimic what a regular customer would want to do and try to look through those links. And so I came to that links and, it was a water utility link so that it talked about AMI infrastructure, but it didn't, it wasn't the right link for electricity.
Yep, absolutely. We'll check that.
And the other thing also is just from a communication point of view, I've looked at what we have for rates, the rate information, and it's the information that we've used and we've approved, recommended by the CAB and approved by the BOC. But when you try to map it to your own bill, it just doesn't map. Okay. So I think people know what the bill looks like. If you could just make it easy and say, what each line item is and what the rates are for the different structures. Because I know my system and it was not easy for me to figure it out. And if it's someone's new to the system, it's going to be much more complicated.
I 100% agree. We did last year look at the bill kind of explainer pages on our site, and we did make those a little bit more visual, try to simplify some of it. And that was in the process of updating the logo, which we're looking at the templates and how the bills are presented. The other side of it is that rate section is more of what, like you said, legally what
It's more like it's a legal document,
Yes. Yes.
So it's not easy for someone to understand the bill that way. I mean, it's easier for me to look at my bill and say, okay, these are the different elements of it. But then you can't make a comparison of different plans. So if you could have one table which clearly showed what the options were, I think that's something that could be useful for people to decide whether I want this plan or that plan.
Mm-hmm.
We did develop how to read your bill, kind of like a one page. Or that was not prominent enough that you didn't. We actually presented on it last year.
I went to the rate. I went to the rate information. So it's like when you go and click on your rate information, you get like a 20-page document.
So yeah, one. So
I think
it's
knows what I'm talking about.
I do. And what we've been trying to do when we transitioned the website, there was that kind of triage effect of the part that we had to clean up and move over old, outdated things that we tried not to.
I think, I'm just treating it, work in progress. 100%. And this just, please take a look at everything on the website and just look at it from the perspective of an end user and say, what makes it easy for me to, you guys can do it. I know, so it's just worth checking those things because rate information is something people will go to look for.
Agreed. No, I think that's something we can put on the table for sure. Thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
Just see around so you can see me. I got a communication from the North Reading Chamber of Commerce and saw that you were sponsoring a workshop for commercial and as commercial and industrial clients. Awesome. I love that. Love seeing that. Love seeing the partnering with the chamber, the outreach to the commercial and industrial community, the partnership with other vendors in terms of, it's not always us. Here's some resources. Maybe we didn't know about them. Let's talk about them. So love that. Was tempted to sign up right away, but I didn't want to be one of the first 20 to sign up. So I'll wait until until you get some more people on. I'll be number 25 or 26. But yeah, I would love to attend that, and I think that it's what I like about it is it's a customer base which is busy doing their own stuff, and here's an outreach program that's part of a number of things that they may be plugged into already. So you're getting them from not just from us, you're getting it through the chamber, and then you're partnering with other resources that they can take advantage of, and having them show their technology and whatever. And then of course for us the benefit is they're more efficient and lower demand, and we can get some other things out of that. So I thought that was fantastic, and I've already put the time slot in my calendar. So good program. I'm looking forward to it.
We've been really lucky to connect with the Reading and North Reading Chamber as well as the Wilmington Tewksbury Chamber, and we've been able to get in some of their newsletters as well. And we're able to more recently connect with the Reading Town Manager, so we get monthly updates in their minute that goes out to residents as well. So we're working on finding platforms in the other towns too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought that was so awesome.
Great. Any other discussion or questions? Okay, thank you for the update. Thank you. Look at us moving right along. So efficiency and electrification update and certificate retirement update.
Megan, I'm gonna put up your one slide deck so you can go skim through it. Sure.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, so there's just one slide, update. So there will be two updates. The first one is on the efficiency and electrification program. The other piece is on demand response. That one we are waiting for the final confirmation of the annual capacity peak. Then we'll do the calculation of savings, and all that will be included in the annual report. So when we kind of report on the annual report, then maybe we can discuss that piece. So this one is really focusing on the rebate programs. Last year, we launched the new expanded heat pump and weatherization program. It's been really successful. It's now the biggest program at RMLD. We have about, including both the rebates and the other DR program, we have about 20 programs now. Last year, we added 3, one for residential, 2 for commercial customers. We also kind of improved 2 existing programs to kind of have a better way of calculating the energy savings and provide the incentives based on the estimated savings. We're planning to add at least 2 new programs this year. These 2 are in the works. So that's what I know as of January, that way we want to add to the program. I also wanted to kind of, I wouldn't say, maybe not to highlight, but I know the board asked this question before about, what we collected and what we spent. So I would say we continue to have very robust residential participation. So robust that it's in deficit for a few years in a row. We still don't have a whole lot of engagement with commercial and industrial customers, for various reasons. Our rates are low. Energy budget is a small portion of their overall budget. So it's like at the bottom of their priority list. And a lot of these efficiency projects take a long time. It may disrupt their operation, and it may need many layers of decision. So I think that led to very, very, compared to the residential, pretty, inactive participation. We get 4 to 5 each year. And that actually, to Ray's point, you really like the idea that we are organizing the commercial and industrial workshop, is really, we want to start to reach out to them more aggressively and really try to find different ways to engage them more. I would still say they won't be, if we have hundreds of residential participation, we'll never get to that point for the commercial sector. But hopefully it's not 5, it's 20, incrementally increasing that participation. Yes.
Your slide talks about an ending balance. Could you just talk to the ending balance, so that it's easier to
Yes,
see this?
the ending balance is calculated based on, for each year, how much we collected and how much we spent. So like, for example, we collect $3 million for both residential and commercial, and we spent $1 million, and then with ending balance is $2 million.
Because from a budget point of view, I think there was a number of, what was the number? Was it 3 million, David?
Yeah, it's about 3 million for the
3
entire.
million, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. It is.
So that's a spend. Is that the idea is that we're going to spend 3 million to drive this? I'm just trying to put this in the context.
Yes. That is a dedicated fund, so we cannot use it for any other purpose. So it's always in its own accounting track. It's used for rebates. It's used for vendors who help us to administer the rebate programs. And that's.
So
two
if we
biggest
say we have
sources.
3 million,
Mhm.
and if I see a red line, so red line means we spent more than 3 million?
Yeah, for the residential customers, we spent more than we collected.
Okay.
Yeah, we spent. I can't see.
I'm kind of following along this
Yeah.
same vein. It looks like you have a net 2.5 million in the commercial account and then a negative 3 million in the residential side, looking at the chart. So that if we're doing $3 million investment into the fund per year, does that mean we're positive 500,000? Or does that, so that's where we're at?
Well, the positive 5 million includes the 2.5 million that was moved from the operating budget to the EEC fund. That was maybe 5 years ago, 2021.
Oh, so there's a $5 million net value in this account for both residential and commercial.
Yes, that includes the fund that was moved over there. So
Okay.
so for the ending balance, I do not have that.
Okay. And per year we run a $3 million, last couple of years, you
We
can see
collect about 3 million.
we collected about 3
And
million.
then
So,
they accumulate.
and then accumulate. So we're running a $2 million positive roughly.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then that 2 million, do you feel at this point should we adjust that investment per year
Mhm.
lower? Or should we keep it, because 2 million is a significant
Yes.
dollar
it is.
amount?
So we can do different ways. One, we could, it's just an idea. It's not a proposal right now. For example, the federal solar credit is gone, finished. We could enhance in that program, the incentive level. We could do that. We are continuing to add new programs. So I don't know, what the participation might be. One small piece, I'm not sure, how much participation there might be, but we're developing a small CNI customer heat pump program. There's at least there's inquiries about it. And I feel the heat pump kind of a adoption is probably the easiest one for a commercial customer to do, especially for small CNI, because they usually just use like a small space or even a house as their business. And then it's a similar process as a residential heat pump program. So that could grow. I'm not saying all these could fill that $2 million surplus. But I'm not sure. I think maybe it's the board's decision if you want to lower the fee that we're collecting. I think the last time we increased the fee was 2024. Increased from 003, I think, to 005.
Yeah, just that it begs the rate sensitivity, right? Any incremental adjustment that we can do can be helpful for people. We all know what rates are going, and anything that we can do to, my opinion. But
Yeah.
thank you.
So maybe the formal question is, and you can do some analysis and come back with a more formal proposal, but what is your recommendation on how to treat that?
I was more thinking about like, what's the implication of this change? Like to change the rate back. If
I don't think we're talking about rate changes yet. I think you're hearing some ideas. You threw out some ideas. I think what we're saying is there's a surplus.
Mm-hmm.
So there are probably a few different things that could happen with that surplus. You could increase your programs. You could adjust rates. Maybe you do a combination of both. I think maybe what you're hearing is a request to look at that and make a proposal on what, if we're not just going to continue with the status quo, what's the recommendation?
Understood. But I think maybe my kind of question is more, if we make this an annual evaluation and then make changes to the rates, I think we could do that. Because even if I did an analysis of, increased programs, new programs, it's still an estimate. This is entirely a voluntary program. So my estimate could be off. Then we may still end up not spending that much, or maybe, the request is overwhelming us. I just don't know. So I think maybe
the end goal of this exercise, I think I'm trying to, understand more. Like if we want this to be an annual review and then be clear to the customers that at the beginning of each year, we're gonna look at last year's spending. If we have this much of a surplus, we're gonna lower the rate for this year, this next year. If that's the thinking behind it, then yeah, I think that.
So has there been a steady $2 million surplus?
There
Or
was
that
a,
just
if you
last year?
look at the chart, in 2021, it was even, right?
Mhm.
Then slowly increased. In 2024, the rate was increased, right? It jumped by 0.02.
With the thinking that we would have more
I don't
robust
know. I wasn't
program.
here. I don't know why.
I think that's probably was the
Okay.
idea. The thinking was more robust programs, more interest,
Yeah.
more uptake. So we needed
Yeah.
more funding to
Yeah.
support that. So I guess, so I think I don't hear anybody saying we want to go one direction or another. I think or that we want to do an annual review. I think the question is just how, what's the recommendation on how we should think about this? Should we?
My recommendation now is to
No,
stay
not
put.
now. I'm asking for you guys to go back and think about it and come back with, if you want to increase the programs, here's what we could do. You threw out one idea around federal solar rebate. If we want to change rate, here's what that could do. Would we do that just as a one-timer or would we do that annually? Let's be thoughtful about.
I think one of the things we
Well,
could
yeah.
look at is, is there a target, like funding of that account that we want to just kind of maintain a balance around?
Yeah.
And try to work off that. So as Megan said, we could add more programs, we could add more to the incentives. It's best guess as to what people are going to do. And then if they don't do what we think they're going to do and we end up with too much of a surplus, then maybe the correction might be a rate that year. But then if more programs get adopted, then maybe when we look at it, if we're below our target, then we go back.
Mhm.
Just kind of.
Yeah, we was gonna do it during the budget cycle, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, but it may be a recommendation that we're doing it in January. Next time, maybe October, revisit in October, maybe a good
Yeah.
time.
I saw Rich's hand first and then I'll go to Dave.
Yeah, I guess I'm more interested first in understanding what the programs are, I guess what the programs are first, the baseline of what we're spending the money on. Is it all just, because it's not all just heat pumps, right?
Yeah,
It's a
the
variety of
table
things.
shows
So this is only heat pumps.
no,
Don't-
the
Dave's on the
table
page.
shows all types of.
Oh, I see. Okay,
the first
so these
one-
are these are,
The first one is heat pump and weather
right,
resistant. And the
solar,
solar-
EV chargers, appliances, commercial.
appliances include quite a few.
So these are, and in these 5 categories, there are, you said 20 programs? Separate programs?
Yeah,
or-
if you, so for example, for appliances, there are multiple. So when I say 20, they're like 5 or 6 just under.
In just
But for
appliances.
this purpose, I'm grouping them up.
So is there a place I can go and find all the programs?
Yes, we have a page.
On the
It's on the
website?
website. It's on the website.
Excellent.
I checked it out.
That'll be helpful.
Yeah, so the piece on this that I think I'd like to know, and I suspect my colleagues would, is which of these is having the most impact on our peak? And also which customers are most driving our peak, as I understand, so that we know where to focus the programs, not just, okay, how much money should we spend, but know why we're doing each program. So just to follow up real quick is, as I understand it, you already have AMI on all the CNI customers, right? There's already
Yeah,
detailed
a
data.
type of AMI, yeah.
Okay, but like if you could pull reports and say, on my peak days, here's the people that
Yes.
did the most, that were really consuming a lot of power during the peak. You would be able to find that out on an absolute level and also relative to their normal demand, like who is actually increasing their demand during the peak? Like where are the 50 customers that you really would like to see doing things? And start there, go after those 50 or those 100 and say, look, we really would, really work on those 50 or 100 so that we're actually having impact on the peak, which is the point of all this, right? That's the major point of all this.
Actually, like I said at the very beginning, this is one part of the puzzle.
Okay.
The peak demand reduction is the other part is not here. So actually here is electrification and efficiency, right?
Sure.
So electrification actually increases.
It's
load.
increasing
Right.
the load because the heat pump is driving.
Heat pump and you
Right,
need-
but it
you
used
need-
to be, but used to be the EE charge and now it's the EE and electrification.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah,
But the biggest point is, where are the people that we want to target? And prioritizing who those people are and going for them and seeing what will work for them and making sure we're going back and having one-on-one meetings rather than, oh, we're having a workshop, which is great.
Mhm.
But are those people showing up?
we've tried different things.
Yeah.
We've visited customers. We even did like the whole like site visit to look to kind of propose what potentially can be done. And like I said, it's a
And it's a
huge
struggle.
internal decision for their business on that we have very little influence on.
But where we do have influence ultimately is with rates. Once we have AMI and we can start thinking about rates that fluctuate and we're actually charging during a peak, during at least, or start thinking in that direction so that people feel it. And now they're more motivated to come to the meeting and look at the program because it's costing them, if it's costing us 5X on the wholesale level, it's costing them 2X. Something where they're the people that on their side, those decision makers are noticing this and have a reason to go to the meeting.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense because we actually internally, we keep a top 100 list for commercial customers. We try to keep reaching out to them to very little result. So now we're trying the other way. Like we want to have more
Sure.
in-person interaction, like workshop and talk
Top
about,
100
you know,
by overall demand or top 100 at the peak?
kilowatt hours. But usually they would have the
Sure.
demand as
Response to-
well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Megawatts.
Yeah,
kilowatts.
when we have a list, we keep a list of all the peak demand, peak demand customers. They all look familiar. They are in the top 100.
Thank you.
Hiding behind you.
Yeah.
Don't always get. So yes, I understand, heat pumps and EVs are going to, drive demand, so it's not really a peak mitigating process. The peak mitigating process in that scenario is you convert to heat pumps and you get your EV car. Then the next thing you want is solar because now you've got your own personal peak demand and solar would be a way to mitigate that, and therefore mitigate our need to support that. So lately, so I would want us to do whatever adjustments we need to in the mitigation, the rebate program to make sure that when someone's ready to say, okay, I've done my heat pump, I've got my car, I want to do solar, have that be a calculation which is at least neutral in that decision. I mean, we're not going to fund the whole thing, but at least not come out of the calculation. But by the time the life of my solar panel comes around, I still am negative in terms of my payback. We should at least get to neutral there. Whatever support, whether it's offsetting, supplementing the federal grant that used to be, so federal rebate that used to be there, or whatever that takes, let's at least get to neutral in that calculation. And I see that specifically in the Killam School and the recal response that I know they're trying to look years ahead, and was the program going to look years ahead? So I realize there's a little bit there, but whatever, when someone reaches out like that, I would want our interest, I would want our program, I would want our response to be in the life of the panel will get you to even at the very least, so that they don't come back from that calculation by saying I've got electric building and I can't afford solar.
I understand the logic
Yeah.
of it, but when a customer goes out to bid for a solar developer, when they know RMLD is gonna make them whole no matter what, they are gonna
We don't
jack
want to
up
be
the
in that
price.
business. I'm
All right.
I'm sorry, that, because now you're becoming a commercial enterprise. We want to sell electricity, we want to support our programs, but we do not want to be the location where we just made it incentivizing somebody else to make money off of our ratepayers. You have to be very careful of that.
Well,
I think, right?
I hear that.
Maybe it's a conversation for
Well,
another time.
and the other side of that calculation is that if we don't incentivize a large source like a school or a senior center to have solar panels, then the ratepayer pays for that entire bill by needing to provide power at peak periods for that power.
If their roof
So
can
there-
support it. I mean, there's a million factors
So
engaged. in
I'm
this
just,
decision.
I realize we can't write a check by saying we'll get you to zero, because for the very thing you say, that then there's no incentive to shop a cost-effective price, but they should be able to say, okay, I'm not disincentive for doing heat pumps because the rebates don't get us there. So I don't know where the magic number is.
So, so I think, you started the response to that question with, some specific areas within solar, like the federal rebate program went away. That's obviously going to disincentivize folks to move forward. Is that something we want to explore? What's the estimate of how many people might do that? What would that look like in terms of the budget? I think ultimately you're hearing a lot of ideas and a lot of interest. Let's go back and take a look and come back with, hey, if we were going to do this annual review, here's what we would think. I don't think we would necessarily want to get to zero. We probably want to have a buffer just in case we have a little bit of extra. Take all sorts of things that you can consider, but let's look at let's not let this surplus sit.
Yeah.
Hi, Bob.
Yeah, thanks. I think that's a good summary. I agree with Ray on maybe like looking at some of the big users, like a school or a senior center. And is there a way to make a grant or something like that of this money to make the solar work? I'm not sure we're going to be able to replace what the federal government took away, because I think it was a big chunk of money that's not easily replaced. And then just on the energy efficiency, I think looking at whatever we can do to cut natural gas. So if we have areas that people are using natural gas, so we can cut natural gas usage by providing heat pumps, I think that's a good focus to be on, because that reduces local emissions. And the price of gas is going sky high this winter. And I think people are going to start to reconsider whether or not they want to be on natural gas, and maybe pushing the heat pumps again would be a good idea. Just a thought.
So I'm going to wrap us up on this topic. So we're about at time. Anything else that you wanted to mention? Okay.
Can I just clarify? So the action item of looking at the scenario, is that for next meeting? Would you like an update on that? Or is this something that we look at when we do the cost service study? Because this is a rate, right? EC fund.
That's the.
Just wait.
Okay. Maybe I'll let Jason meet with the team and determine when is the right time to come back. I think you hear interest in kind of moving relatively quickly on it, but let's make sure we have a thoughtful response too.
Yeah, and I would also say, like, to change a particular program doesn't need to be tied to, resolving this ending balance issue. So like if we want to propose to change the solar program, for example, whenever we're ready, I guess we can come in and do it.
I think you're probably hearing interest in making sure that it's also, we can fund it in a way that isn't going to have an impact to the budget given where we are in the process. So.
Last point, we had 128 tentative new heat pumps, 128 in 2025, and we had 20 solar. So I have a hard time believing we're having an adverse impact on rates because 20 people switched to solar. But we have a big increase in demand because 128 is drawing power from the grid that we need to supply. So I'm not saying we need to have a program where all 128 get solar, but I think there's a disincentive in this solar line that needs some support. And I don't see going 20 to 50 having a negative impact on rates or other ratepayers. And it offsets what we'd have to supply from the grid. So we can look at that more holistically, but
okay. Why don't we move to the next topic? Thanks.
I don't see
Oh. Certificate retirement, I know somehow the tradition is to look at this at the beginning of every year. Actually, it's not the good time to do it. We can discuss this, but I want to try to explain the lag of the certificate, actually the minting of certificate, there's 6-month lag. So as of now, we only got the Q3 of last year's generation of certificate. We still even don't have Q4. So that's for last year. And then beginning of last year, we decided on how, the percentage of the retirement for certificates. So you made a decision pretty much 12 to 15 months ahead of time on how much you want to retire. And I want to kind of explain the risk of doing that. So the cost of additional certificate retirement will depend on first the generation of certificate. So that's depending on all the non-carbon power resources that we have. So it depends on the weather. A lot of these resources that generate certificates largely depend on weather, whether it's a drought. Now that's hydro, all the others, solar also depend, wind also depends, everything depends on some uncertainty that is out of everyone's control. So, and also, as time goes on, our contracts on these resources may change. We may drop off some, I think I mentioned here, yes, we are actually dropping 4 hydro contracts that got too pricey over the years. So this will affect our generation of certificates. So that's one. And the other piece is the demand itself for energy. So the retirement percentage depends on the electricity sale, the retail sale. So if the demand in our territory goes up and that 55%, whatever percentage that is, the absolute megawatt hour or the absolute number of certificates will increase. So we always have to consider, do we have enough certificates to actually retire, even though the percentage stays the same? So whenever you think about, should we increase the percentage, you need to think at least these 2 big factors. And then the other piece is when we consider as of now, or at least for the next few years, when we talk about increasing certificate retirement, the cost is not really to add some dollars to customers' bill per se, but rather the certificate sale revenue is being reduced. So we're talking about hypothetical or sort of opportunity cost of additional certificate retirement. So I'd like the board to take all that into consideration when you think about should we increase percentage or not. And then we did our analysis just for 2026. As I said, it's premature. We did the best estimate we could. It's still, I hate to say this in a public meeting, it is still very I don't know. I did the best estimate I can, but still we haven't even closed 2025. So it's really difficult to know how many we're going to have in 2026. So this slide is just showing, at least last year, the generation of certificates has declined, mostly because of the decline in hydro production because of weather. Like last fall, we had a drought. For this year, our estimate is, the drop is not that much. It still remains low. So 2024 was a super year because of high hydro production. So I want to show this chart just so I would say this is not the meeting to actually have a recommendation. I would still say I think there's a risk in increasing the percentage right now, at least for 2026. And also maybe January is not the best time to make the decision for this year because of the lag. And then the other piece I want to promote, we keep promoting, is the Renewable Choice Program. That's for really engaged and interested customers. If they want to increase the retirement of certificates, they can participate in this program. We will make it happen. So that has zero impact on the ratepayers. It's basically these interested customers, they can participate and will retire more certificates. So I want to say that, and I know the last slide is really a request from the board to have a scenario analysis It's pretty self-explanatory.
Next slide.
Oh, I do it. I forgot.
We're going.
Okay, yeah. So you can see, okay, at 60%, yes, maybe it's $2 per year if you use 800 kilowatt hours a month. But I want to give you, like, and I want to point you to the sentence below the table. In 2023, somehow, I don't know, it was maybe the weather as well. There weren't enough certificates to retire 60%.
Were there in 24?
Yes, 24 was a super hydro production year.
Were there in 25?
24 as of now, yes. Yeah.
And those certificates get more expensive as production declines, right, in the renewable space.
Yeah, I think there are different pulling forces. For one is, with all the federal incentives going away, projects are pulling out, so that's tight, making it tight. But then, regionally, Connecticut just kind of backtracked their renewable energy goal. So there's less demand for
So
that.
it's different moving
Yes,
pieces, but in general,
it's getting tight.
if there's fewer resources, then the price goes up.
Yeah. But there is a invisible cap to the price. The highest is the Massachusetts or Connecticut class 1. There's a cap because of the alternative payment dollar amount is $40. So it's like an invisible cap to the price.
And just a question going back to the renewable choice program, do those customers actually pay for the retirements?
Yes,
They cover the cost.
they cover
of
the
them.
cost of retirement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question on that. So I'm looking at that line for 100%, and it says additional cost in dollars per kilowatt hour, right?
Mm.
And this is like 1.175 cents, right?
Mhm.
Per.
Yeah.
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 And you're charging 1.8 today. I looked at my bill. So
Oh, that's different.
Renewable choice?
Yeah.
This cost calculation, to the renewable choice program, we retire only mass class 1, which is $40.
okay.
$40.
So, and
gets
this
calculated to-
is averaging over all the others.
Yeah, that average cost you see is adding like every item, every category of certificate has a different price. But for the renewable choice program, we only retire mass class 1 certificate, which is $40, around 40. Like for our program, we cannot change the rate all the time. So even though the current market price is $39, I think, but we keep at $40 per megawatt hour. So that translates to the 1.8.
So in a year where we're having no snow, we don't know how the spring is gonna be. We don't know how so I understanding your point,
Mhm.
and legislatively, there's a lot of things going on in Massachusetts as well, where we're coming to an election year and energy prices have been so high. Even right now, the state is talking about delaying implementation of certain goals. So there's a lot of factors going on that I agree with Megan. I would like to see us stay status quo. I know Rebecca is very excited about increasing that amount, but at the same time, we don't want to go into a deficit of certificates to retire.
Well,
And
so I
we
was
don't-
gonna ask a question on that. So 20 cents to go to 60%, right? So let's just assume.
That's just
we-
for this year.
Well, it's an estimate too.
It's an
I totally
estimate
get it.
and
Never mind.
only for
Wait
this
till my next
year.
question.
Yeah.
So the first thing is, if we were to say 60%, or even stay at 55%, and we were in a situation where we did not have enough certificates to meet that goal, would you need to come back to the board for approval to purchase additional certificates to meet the goal, or give us a chance to weigh in on whether we want to do that or not?
Well, before 2030, you can do whatever you want.
Right, I'm asking for right now, if
Mhm.
we were to say 55 or 60%, and we were in a situation like 2023,
Mhm.
you wouldn't just go and buy certificates.
Well, if
You would
you
come back-
already signed a order saying we have to retire this much, then we have to retire this much.
I guess.
So
if
you're
we had
asking
this
for,
in-
you're saying you don't even have enough certificates to retire that much. So therefore you need to buy additional certificates. What I'm saying is you wouldn't just go and do that. You would come back to the board and say, we only have 50%.
No, unless in your policy 30, I guess, you say that if the price, if RMLD does not have enough certificates to retire, this needs to be revisited. If you didn't say that in there,
Uh-huh.
then we will have to just, you know, comply with whatever was in there.
So sounds like something we should look at in the policy review. Because I don't think that it would be the intent, right, of us for to have like even further incremental costs without having that
Yeah,
conversation.
just quick math. If you had to purchase 25,000 at $40, that's 2 million, right?
Yeah.
So that's a $2 million adder where you're trying to,
Right, we
you
want the
burn- you-
opportunity to make an adjustment,
Oh,
say, listen, we
abs-
don't
absolutely.
have the certificates to do that. So I think that's important to note that our intent is not to go and buy additional certificates just to meet that objective, especially if it's not a state mandated goal at the same time. But at the same time, it's not just Rebecca. There are many people who are interested in pushing the envelope on, especially if it's a low cost, on what our percentage of non-carbon energy is and what we can claim. So I also think it's reasonable for us to look at the low cost impact, like moving from 55 to 60. What I would love to understand though, is we had an assumption when we went to 55 of what the average increase would be, or what the per kilowatt hour increase would be. At what point would we be able to actually look at that and say, okay, we thought it was going to be 69 cents. It was actually whatever the number was. When would we have that data?
I would say maybe the second quarter of next year, we will have the full 2026 done.
Well, we
No.
made this decision back in 2024, so we would want to look, I'm asking for like, what's the, like 1 year of 55%, what was the impact? And how did that compare to our assumption? So I think that, get it, there are things we can't control. We can only ever make assumptions based on the best information we have. But let's look at how different it was before we go and make another decision based on estimates. That's clear?
Yes, just to clarify, you want us to look at the first, or a year of 55% retirement, because we're.
Right, the first year that we were able to. do
First year, and
55%,
then-
what was the impact?
What did it actually cost us on the bills? And
Yes.
then what was our estimate at the time and how close was it?
Yes,
Okay.
we know the estimate was 69 cents per month, right? Whatever that,
Yeah.
wherever that math was, we've got the numbers in the previous board packets, right?
Yes.
So how close was that?
The other piece of this is if you're making decision for this one year, then next year, are you saying, oh, okay, based on our new analysis for the new year, then you may potentially lower the percentage if there's not enough or if it's too costly. Is that the intent?
No,
that-
that,
because
I don't
for
think that's the
me-
intent. My question is just, we made an assumption. How close to the assumption were we?
Because when
Before we
you
make another
change the
change.
percentage, when you set the percentage, for us, we have to think of for the next 15, 20 years, can we actually meet that?
Mhm.
I'm not just only thinking about 1 year. But I can only give you the best estimate of 1 year. But then I really cannot guarantee going forward whether we can meet that.
Pam's just setting it up for a decision criteria around the $2. So, you know, it's like, well, we thought we were spending 69 cents and we ended up spending $1.80. Then we would know that there's this great deal of variability in anticipation of what the cost, you know, at least was back there and maybe help us in our decision making for whether or not we would want to embrace a $2 charge moving forward. So it's just looking at the variability
Yeah,
between
well,
actuals and estimated in
understood.
arrears,
but-
and then perhaps that gives us a little bit of insight.
What would
Well,
be your
projections.
threshold?
I don't think we can make that determination.
know if we
right
have
now.
one yet.
But
We-
I think,
What we asked
But
for was
in
a couple
between-
scenarios, right?
yeah, which we can look at. I think what just Megan's getting at, where you mentioned if staying at 55% created a need for us to go buy Rex. Right? And this year you'd want us to, if the policy allows, to come back and revisit that decision and maybe not do 55% if we had to go buy Rex. Now, if we raise the 60%, say everything aligns and you're good with all the scenarios and we go to 60%. Next year, if we do our analysis, and we predict that we're already at a deficit and have to buy recs. Would you,
I think the board would have to.
yeah, that's
Assess that and
right,
make
right.
the
No, I think
decision.
that's just what the question was, so.
Yeah, I just think it's a different, that's
So-
a different question than what I'm asking, which thank you, Rich, for reiterating.
Yes, so $2 seems to be. I don't know what's a good word for it. You are okay with it, right? Is $10 too much? I'm trying to gauge
I
where
don't,
you're,
like, the board has not
well,
decided to take a vote on
so
that,
the
so I
range-
don't think
I
we can
know,
even say two.
but the range is between $2 and, $60 and $110. So the range is already there.
Let's
So no
back up for
matter,
a second.
yeah.
The specific ask is, let's look at what we assumed before. What we assumed before was around a $7, well, if I'm doing, it was around 70 cents per month average impact, so $8 or something a year, right? So the board voted for that. So that's precedent, right? But what I'm asking is, what was the actual impact? We made an
yeah, we
assumption.
can definitely do that.
Do that, and then we bring it back. Like, you guys put together these 3 scenarios. That's great. That's super helpful. Let's understand that and what the kind of risk or range could be. And then I think we have a discussion as a board on what other scenarios we want to, if we want to look at other scenarios, or if we just want to talk about the lowest cost scenario.
I just want to say, I think you did a good job on your presentation here. It's a nice summary of all the different racks and all the costs. You know, this metric, it's kind of a tough metric to determine whether or not you're supporting renewable energy, which RMLD is supporting in a huge way. And that's a problem with intermittent resources. So you can buy all the wind and solar and hydro, but if it's not rainy, if it's cloudy, it's not windy, you're not going to be able to retire what your goal is to retire. So I just like that.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
And I think that speaks to the need to probably change our policy, that if we are setting an expectation that's based on a certain set of assumptions, if all of a sudden those assumptions aren't coming true and we have other risk, then we need to understand that before we.
And on the idea of risk, it not only whether it exists or not, but when it falls. Because if it falls in the spring and that's when we have low demand, then we bought a lot of power,
You don't
but we're not using it.
exactly.
And we've had months where we've had a negative, we've purchased more power than we could sell to our customers because it was spring and you didn't need the heat, you didn't need the cooling. And that's just the nature of the uncertainty of a variable source and variable demand.
Okay, we're at time on this topic. Anybody else have anything urgent?
Just to
important say?
clarify, are we supposed to come back next month or another time? With,
I mean, we have on our operating cadence that we will vote on this next month. So if we can have an update that next month on that specific question, that would be great.
Do you want to look at policy 30 while doing this with the whole group in tandem, or do you want to keep that?
Let's talk about that when we get to if we're gonna form a committee. I think that's probably one of the first ones the committee would be looking.
Something different is looking back at what actually happened in year one.
that definitely can be done, but are you expecting us to make a proposal in the February meeting?
I think it's
I think it's the variations and what you presented here are the scenarios.
So we don't need to make a recommendation.
I think we present, the different scenarios that we have here
You
with
present the analysis.
with the
Yeah.
analysis of the 1 year of actual data
Yeah.
compared to the estimate, and then they're gonna make a recommendation based on the data.
That makes sense. Great, union negotiation update.
Okay, so, I think this is maybe the last piece of union negotiation, so IBEW was the first to settle, and they did a 3-year going back to 1 year, and then the other 2 unions settled after that with a 1 year, plus a 3 year. So a portion of this, MOA is to make that contract fall in line with the others, so readjust it, so it's a 1 year, then a 3 year. So that's one piece. And then the other piece is around, sick buyback language and FMLA language. So on the sick buyback, it, eliminates, some stuff they need for doctor's notes and stuff like that, and it sets it at, if you take less than 40 hours of sick time in a year, you can do the buyback at the end of the year, as opposed to doing some administrative work with some notes and some stuff. So that cleaned that language up, significantly. And then on the FMLA portion, it's allowing employees to take their time when they're out on FMLA, that they have to take the time to sick, their vacation and their personal, where I think before they didn't need to they couldn't take their sick. So it just cleans that, makes that a little bit more better for the employees. So that's the summary of basically the MOA. The union has voted to ratify it. Paul signed it before he left. The last piece is, you guys to take a look at it, and we have a motion here for you.
If anybody want to read the motions? Okay.
Move that the RMLD Board of Commissioners vote to approve the executed supplemental memorandum of agreement between IBEW Local 103 and Reading Municipal Light Department.
Second.
Any further discussion on this?
Just one question. Are the terms and of this contract pretty much identical for the other unions also in terms of the pay raises across?
Pretty much. One of the other unions, they broke it up differently within the group, but basically same percentage overall.
Further questions?
I just want to add, appreciate the unions engaging us. It was took a while to kind of get to a place where we could come to an understanding on rates, but between settling on a rate, which I think gives the union members the value that they wanted, and some of the conditions that they've wanted in the contract, very pleased with the settlement that we arrived at and their willingness to work with us to get there. So we want our people to be happy here and rewarded for the work that they do. And I think we got there. So appreciate that for all the unions that negotiated this fall cycle.
Ready for vote? All those in favor? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Permit request.
So this procurement request, the team went out to bid for to get bids back for an hourly rate for underground contract work. So within the bid, they used a certain number of hours to be able to determine who was the lowest bidder. There was 3 bids out of 16. That's in the packet. This is the lowest responsive bidder, which is Powerline, and it's really just to establish the hourly rate for as needed work. So there's nothing scheduled to go with them, but if we do need them for something, whether or not we don't have the equipment to do it, or the need, or something comes up that they're unavailable, and we can bring them in for this rate that's been negotiated, or part of the bid, I should say. The contract's for 3 years. That's pretty much the summary of the contract.
So how does it work in terms of, we're approving this contract? There's an estimate of what the 3-year value would be here. Is it that as long as it stays within that estimate, it's fine, or could it be any?
It could be any, in order to just determine who was the lowest bidder, where they had to just bid on the same set of hours. So they gave them all the same hours to bid on to determine something to compare, but it's really just the hourly rates and as needed and as the work dictates. Obviously, if it's capital projects, it's in the capital budget, so it'd be, but it's within the budget there. It'd be that type of work, but if it was an emergency, it would be different, but it's really just as needed, just to lock in the rates.
Someone like to read the motion?
But just one quick question, Jason, I know on here, like it says splice van. I don't know if that's, so they're here for placing cable. We're supplying the material. They're gonna place it. Or are they gonna, is there material pass through here if you have them out in here? It's a splicing van, splicing journeyman, like it's a splicer van, so there's no mention of like a cable pulling truck or those adders or anything like trailers or adders and,
they may be adders. I don't have the specifics of the actual wording of the bid. There could be, things in the bid that they weren't used to calculate the lowest responsive bidder. So these are the things, so I would assume, I shouldn't assume, but yeah, there'd be things in there for other pieces of equipment. So if they're gonna pull wire, they'd have to bring their trailer.
Okay.
Equipment rate for that.
okay, so this is just basically the hourly for the employees.
Yes.
Okay.
And then they had to, and then in a way to try to compare apples to apples, they just gave the same scenario to the bidders, and then they bid on that. And there are maybe other rates, but this is probably the most common rates that this would be used for. So that's why with an estimated number of hours.
And their rates are the lowest across board.
Yes, at least for what they use for the analysis.
Do you have an estimate, like, you moving forward for how many hours or what type of projects you have in mind for these guys to engage with?
I haven't got there yet, but I mean, it could be anything, cable installation, cable replacements or new cable, any splices, any routine maintenance, and stuff like that. I don't think there's necessarily anything slated just yet. I do know, looking at the capital budget, there could be a couple of large underground projects, specifically around the Wilmington substation, where maybe the capability better suits them than the equipment that we have in-house. So that might be something that's targeted in the future, but I don't think that's there yet.
So how would this correspond to any work that was done in the past year? Had we used some other crew that did something like this, and
So
would that give you an estimate to?
yeah, so Powerline had the contract the last 3 years, same company. In 2025, they only worked on the project for a couple months, so it's not probably indicative of overall spend, but the 2 years prior to that, it was around $500,000.
But you think going forward, it may actually be higher?
I would say it falls somewhere between those two.
Okay.
Still getting my hands around
Okay.
all the work that's going on for this year, but
Been here 2 weeks, come on.
but just from experience and looking at what's been done in the past, it's gonna fall somewhere in between that, probably most likely.
No, but I'm just saying, looking at the projects you have, because you have some big projects coming.
Yeah, I'm still, yeah. Like I said, the Wilmington substation might be something, but I don't know what that's slated for. I'm still getting my hands around that project, or when that's even gonna be needed. It might not even be this year, it might be next year. It's definitely gonna be within this 3-year contract, I can tell you that. Hopefully.
I just had a question about where it was advertised. What's Combis?
It's like the state site that all mass bids for chapter 3039M have to be posted on. It's a state requirement.
Okay, great, because it's a little antiquated to say that we're publishing our notice in the Middlesex East edition of the Daily Times Chronicle. Like, does that even exist anymore? I mean, maybe it does, but I don't think a lot of people are looking for underground contracting work in the Daily Times Chronicle. Like,
Those requirements, I think, are all come from the mass bid laws.
sure. But the newspaper is some antiquated thing from 1952 at RMLD. One of the things we can fix in the policies, maybe.
Oh, I don't know if that's a policy thing or if that's a state law.
Sure, but I mean, the local newspaper thing is a little antiquated at this point.
Yeah.
And we had issues with that a bunch of years ago, when it used to be that we only posted something in like the local paper for liquidating usable but surplus trucks. Anyway.
Does anybody want to read the motion?
Sure, I'll read it since
Thanks, Ray.
to jump ahead of all the other people that would want to read it. Move that IFB 2025-31 hourly rates for professional manpower vehicles, trade tools, and equipment for underground electrical distribution construction and maintenance be awarded to Powerline Contractors, Inc. pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30, Section 39M, as the lowest responsible eligible bidder on the recommendation of the general manager. The contract is for a 3-year term.
Okay. Thanks. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Thank you.
5-0. Okay, yeah, next topic is our 2026 operating cadence. So this is attachment 6 in your packet. Given we're at the beginning of the year, wanted to make sure everybody had visibility to the various topics that we're covering, and then we've got some new members as well. So this list here shows all of the different topics we expect to be on the board agendas month over month. Certainly other things may come up and we will add them to the agenda, but this is kind of the typical annual cadence. You can see in some cases when these are kind of our big ticket items, things like the budget approval, the certificate retirement, the annual goals, those are going to be 2 meeting topics. So we'll have 1 meeting to review and discuss, and then the next meeting for any follow-up discussion and the vote. I will say, based on Megan's feedback on the timing of the certificate retirement rate, you know, we've got review this month, vote next month. If in the future we want to change that, I'm sure the board will be open to that. So it's a better point in time. So just wanted to make sure folks were aware of this schedule, and we will stick to it as much as we can. And as we talked about at the beginning, we're going to try to have some additional structure to the meetings in terms of time limits to make sure we get through everything, and as well as front loading any of Jason's staff who's going to be coming in so that they don't have to sit through lengthy procurement discussions and things like that until they go and have their topic. The one additional thing I would say is sometimes we do have quite a few things on the agenda, and we are getting this document out to folks at least a few days in advance. Usually if it's a Tuesday meeting, it's going to get out on Thursday at the end of the day or Friday morning, which should give everybody a chance to review it over the weekend, hopefully. So if I could just ask for, you know, I know stuff comes up, but if everybody could just take some time to pre-read the materials, that will allow Jason's team, especially when they're presenting, to really just focus on the big items and not necessarily have to read every slide. And then we can just ask targeted questions where we want to have discussion, but not necessarily go through every single point. So those are some of the things that we've discussed about trying to make our meetings a little more efficient and effective, as well as planful for Jason's team.
Did you say planful?
I said planful.
All right.
Yeah. Good consultant word right there.
Planful.
Any questions or concerns either about the operating cadence or some of the meeting structure elements?
Policy review in there?
So that is one of our next topics. Policy review.
Will come up later.
We had policies, yes.
Yeah.
So we have a quarterly policy. It's underneath the BOC, the first section here.
Okay.
So we do have kind of like a quarterly
Mhm.
vote, and there is a proposed schedule of policy review, but we're going to talk about policy review committee shortly and potentially adjust that schedule. Any other questions or comments on that? Okay.
Thank you, Pam. This is great.
Yeah, this is a
helpful.
good tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, we're gonna go next to meeting minutes in here. A minute ahead of schedule. Love it.
We're in full of you.
You want to start with the cab
Yeah.
motion?
Can I get someone to read them?
Move that the RMLD Citizens Advisory Board approve the following 2025 open session meeting minutes as presented on the recommendation of the general manager and the board secretary, December 17th.
Any second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm gonna volunteer to read the motion.
Good job, Ray.
I You go ahead.
Oh, thank you.
I yield.
I
He's
appreciate it.
so good at it.
I know.
Give it a shot.
Move that the RMLD Board of Commissioners, there you go.
Here we go. I'm not-
Approve the following 2025 open session meeting minutes as presented on the recommendation of the general manager and the board secretary, December 17th.
Second,
Any discussion on this?
Only that I think Erin should get combat pay for her work. I think I got 8 or 10 sets of minutes over the last couple weeks. So I thought there'd be a bunch on here. I guess it'll be for next month. But anyway, that's all. Just thank you, Erin, for wherever she may be. Or-
Pass it along.
She's working on meeting minutes.
Yeah. So anyway, no, that's it.
All those in favor? All right, thank you. Motion carries. Okay, the next topic is establishment and appointment of committees. So there are two potential committees here. I've had individual from both the CAB and the Board of Commissioners just suggest that the upcoming GM goals potentially have a subcommittee that gets together, perhaps 1 or 2 members of the CAB, 2 members of the board, and talk through some of the key items we want to see on the GM goals for 2026. If we are going to do that per the operating cadence, it would have to happen pretty quickly because we would need a first draft of the goals by February, by the February meeting. So that's a pretty quick initial review, and then in March is when we would do the final review. And this would also be a committee that would partner with Jason to talk through those goals, to get his input as well, and come to kind of an aligned recommendation to the board on those goals. So the first request is just to have discussion over whether folks believe that that is something that they would be interested in participating in, or having that. If we didn't schedule or didn't set up a subcommittee, then it would really just be up to Jason to bring his recommended goals to the board in February, and then for us to review, provide feedback, and then vote in March. So open for discussion if there's interest in a subcommittee on GM goals.
I think it's a good idea to have one, at least because can't do everything, with all 10 of us here all the time, and it could take some thought. So,
okay.
So I think it's a good idea to have it. And then, Jason, hopefully you don't disagree, but yeah. I mean, if it's okay with you.
Yes. I'm fine with
And
that.
you'd be there presumably to help the discussion.
I'm GM'd out.
Are you?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'm GM'd out.
Okay,
Right now. Just say,
so not a taker, not a self-nominated.
And I'm not honestly, I'd like to be on the other one, but this one, because I might want, if I was on, if you were to put me on the other one, I don't think I would want to be on both. So
Okay.
that's my only thought.
Are there others with interest on?
So
Being on a
so
goals
you're
committee.
on the goals committee. Yeah.
I would be on the
Yeah.
goals committee.
Would one of you be interested?
On the calls? I'll try. I'll do it.
Okay.
How about from the
And we
PFC?
can do the poll.
Anybody who would have interest in it?
nominate Pam.
You're very nonplussed.
Perspective here?
Yeah.
So next meeting is on the 17th, so that gives you 1, 2, 3, that's about like a month, but really it'll have to be before the month to get the first draft done.
Mhm.
Probably could do it in one meeting, one committee meeting, I would guess.
if you have the
I mean,
goals from last year.
Yeah,
as
you have
well,
the goals
the
from last year
recommend-
and tweak them, and
Yeah.
it's just another,
I mean, the alternative is if we don't have enough interest for a subcommittee, is Jason leverages the goals from last year as a starting point to do the review in February and vote in March without the subcommittee.
Well, that's not a bad idea. Right?
The starting point.
Even if you wanted to do that this time and then for the next, meeting, you could do the committee.
For next year.
Because he's new, it's.
Yep.
The stepping stone in the right direction towards how we're gonna guide it all into there.
Okay, so maybe I'm hearing we don't have a lot of interest in doing the subcommittee for goals. But instead we would stick with the schedule of you'd bring your proposal in February, we discuss, let's allow enough time on the agenda to have a meaty discussion about that. Yes, Reg.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, or just observe that I think part of the unwillingness to dive into the goals thing is that it needs to be done so fast, and the next 3 weeks, just people may have, I know my calendar's booked and I'm traveling a lot, and so I wouldn't want to put the idea to bed entirely. So, yeah, I guess just sort of stating that the next opportunity that
Yeah.
comes around.
I think
could be
from an
interesting.
organizational structure point of view, it's good to have, I think, maybe
Yeah.
subcommittees. Let's go ahead with the subcommittee for the policies and come back to a subcommittee for reviews.
Yeah,
So let's create the subcommittees and skip the meeting for the first time.
can we create a
But use the
subcommittee
subcommittee for reviews.
without named participants?
Yeah, and then just whenever
Okay.
you're ready to do that, then at that meeting, you would just name it. Just
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
so we are willing to name people right now, so for our subcommittee.
okay. I'm gonna hold on asking the Board of Commissioners to name, so I think that's a great idea. Let's create the subcommittee, understand the timing. Perhaps what we do is the review of the goal performance starts in November. So maybe we ask for volunteers for the subcommittee in October. So that way we know, and then there's opportunity for multiple meetings before we do a setting of new goals. in the Beginning of 2027. All right, so if that's the case, then the CAB can start with the motion to establish the subcommittee.
Yeah, so we read the, CAB motion.
Move that Citizens Advisory Board appoint Tim Woods
Tell it was
to serve on the GM Goals and Review Committee.
second.
Second.
Okay, all in
Uh,
favor?
Question.
Sorry, I think we have to establish the committee first, and then
Okay,
Yeah, that was what I
That's
was
my
gonna
fault.
ask.
Fine.
that's my
Is
fault. I jumped.
if we don't have members on our side yet, do you have a committee? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they,
I just asked.
so you
Chair.
can create the subcommittee. You
Oh,
can
okay.
create
they
some-
fill in any name later on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So why don't we do this? Let's just have the Board of Commissioners do the first motion.
And
and
we've
then
already done our motion, so
You've done yours, but
Right.
we'll have to do it again in October
Sure.
anyway.
One other quick idea before we do that is that instead of doing the subcommittee whole thing in the next 2 months or whatever, just if needed, you could call a quick 30-minute meeting to prep us for the February meeting, like a Zoom meeting where we kind of pre-digest and then we're ready in the February meeting. I'm just saying you don't have to do all this now.
Yeah, well, I think we agreed we'll establish a subcommittee
Okay.
for the purposes of next year's process.
For next year's process, okay.
And then maybe
and also the review for this year. Because you can do the review at the end of the year, so you can use subcommittee for the review.
Oh, okay.
Because you have the goals set up
Got
and
it.
then you can do the subcommittee, so you just set it up, so.
Okay, I'm sorry.
right, so it'll be set up for that process, and then
Got that.
my suggestion is perhaps the initial goals, Jason, from you come out a little sooner than a couple days before to give everybody a chance to digest them. Okay. Okay, so let's do the suggested motion just for establishing the committee, please.
I'll read it.
Thank you.
Move that the RMLD Board of Commissioners establish the RMLD GM Goals and Review Committee and appoint 2 Board of Commissioners and 2 Citizens Advisory Board members.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, motion carries 5-0. So we will hold on the appointment until October.
Because you could have different members by then too. Probably not, but
Who knows?
And you got our motion.
Okay, and then the second one is the policy review committee. So as we looked at on our operating cadence, we're going to be doing a quarterly review of policies. There is already kind of a list. You don't have the list of policies in the review schedule in this packet, right?
John,
Okay.
maybe.
It's not,
That's okay if not, but there is a list of policies. And the last time they were updated, the recommended frequency of update. But this would be something that would the subcommittee could review, make modifications, bring recommendations. this is not going to be, the intent is not that this is like a redlining committee. Okay, these are the kind of like the key messages, key changes, things to consider that the subcommittee wants to pursue. The general manager and his support staff would do the necessary red lines to meet that recommendation. We would then review and approve that they met the recommendation. Okay. Yes.
There was a significant change from procedures and policies over the last couple of years. A lot of lift and shift. Is there any way possible that we can see what the lift and shift was as a reminder? That was things that were previously policies were moved into operating procedures. And just in case there's an appetite to return them back to policy.
So in my list, if this is helpful, Bob, in the kind of spreadsheet I have for it, I'll list policies that were dissolved and I'll note which ones became procedures or if which portions became procedures or something like that. So you can kind of start with that big table and then dive in.
Yeah, because we started with 30. I think we're down to 19-ish. Somewhere around that. I'm not even too sure.
30 plus, there were 30 plus.
Yeah.
Bob,
I thought we knocked off a few more. But thank you.
And I can send this sheet to everyone following the meeting.
Be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So any discussion regarding establishing this subcommittee with 2 BOC members and 2 CAB members?
we've identified.
Okay.
Yes,
We may have volunteers. I heard some volunteers for policy committee.
I would certainly, yeah.
Okay. Do we have more than 2 volunteers?
I wouldn't, I'd be interested in participating.
Okay. Anybody else? So we have 3.
We can alternate too, as long as there's not 3 of us there, then.
yeah, I mean, I guess the first cut and you two can make the first cut in terms of what we think we want to highlight. And I mean, I think it may be something that evolves over the course of the time, depending on the policy and whatever, but
And you'll, as part of the role of the subcommittee would be doing an update at each of our BOC meetings. So if you can keep the group apprised of decisions or progress so that they can weigh in.
I mean, I think that the discussion, my understanding is the discussion that would happen outside of regular meeting would just involve 2 members, but it doesn't have to be maybe the same 2 members, depending on what it is that's being reviewed specifically. And I think we might be able to adjust that as we go. Like, here's our first cut. These are the things we want to look at, and you want to look at some, and I want to look at something different. Maybe we can switch off and.
Yeah, I think
The way committees work though is there's 2 members. You can't have 3.
Right, well,
But
that's
the
what I
thir-
mean. That's
but
what.
the third, 4th or 5th can be there if you've called as a covering thing,
Covering.
full board meeting to cover the contingency of the quorum showing up, so that officially it's posted that way. As many of us could be there as want to be there.
So you could do
As-
that, or we could structure the cadence of the policy reviews where it's, here's the group that Ray wants to look at, let's do that Q1. Here's the group that Dave wants to look at, we can do those Q2, and we can change the membership as well.
Sure, you change the membership down the road, sure.
I mean, even where you can start is if you take a peek on that table, then at that first meeting, you can say, okay, here's like what the committee is gonna do. Bring it back to the board, get your feedback, and then bring it back to the committee to do that kind of work.
Yeah.
And drill down. So you're still getting everyone's input too.
I think that's. Yeah, what she said.
Okay.
Because I know like some policies were reviewed last year and then there's a plan and some had been reviewed in the past and there was supposed to be a cadence for review of those policies. So that would be a good starting point, right? So that's the starting point, and then we can see if we need to change that order and then work from that.
Yes.
And just to, I know that this came up from the previous committee. I don't even remember what the name of our committee was now, but anyway, it came up in that discussion. And I think a lot of the reason for it was overlapping policies, contradictory policies. So I think it's probably more than just a matter of taking these 5 and looking to see whether or not you want to update them. It's sort of the whole picture. look for where things are contradictory, where they're overlapping, where we can clean out some and sort of create a cleaner set.
I think formally, you just name committee members. That's how it works. As chair, you name who the members are.
Okay, I'm seeing we have official motion.
Maybe, but I think if we read our, whatever the charter is, that our board policy says that chair names committee members.
We can ask first.
Of course, yeah.
You must.
So you guys gonna do a
So
motion?
let's do the motion to establish the policy review committee first. Who would like to read that?
I'll do it.
Thanks.
Move that the RMLD Board of Commissioners establish the RMLD Policy Review Committee and appoint 2 Board of Commissioners and 2 Citizens Advisory Board members.
Second. Thanks.
I'll
Dave.
second it.
All those in favor? All right, 5-0. Okay, and then in terms of appointments, anybody have a strong? Yeah, for sure.
Certainly, I've been on the board the longest. I've seen it, been through a few of these revisions and a few other things, so might have had some value.
And I or Bob can
Yeah.
supplement
You wanna
that,
go-
whether
you-
we
yeah.
are named in this motion or
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay.
With the understanding that we would just have 2 in any one session going over whatever specific policies we.
And again, if there's interest, like Dave said, he's right, we could just call an open.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, I may be wrong. I think there has to be 2 members named. And then.
We'll
they can
name
be
2
ch-
members.
Yeah, that's all. Okay, and then
So
you can
let's-
change it
We
later.
could do the motion with Dave and Ray.
And I don't know if you can name an alternate.
If we can, I would love it if you were the alternate.
Yeah.
Or
yes.
I would like all of
Okay.
us to be on the
All
committee.
right,
all
you'll be
10
the
of us.
alternate.
If we only.
We can
could.
all hold
Yeah.
hands in a circle.
Meeting.
Call me.
So Rich, since you're the only one whose name is not.
Yeah, I'll read it.
Thank you.
Move that the RMLD Board of Commissioners appoint Dave
And Ray.
and Ray to serve on the RMLD Policy Review Committee,
With Bob as the alternate.
with Bob as the alternate.
I would be curious why we have these motions. I do think it's just the chair has the power to just form committees and name people to them, but just as an aside.
I like to be super inclusive, so we're
Sure.
let's just
Very
finish it out.
planning.
All right, second.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Thank you.
You have a motion?
Mhm.
Super me and.
Citizens Advisory Board, move that the Citizens Advisory Board appoint Quebec and
Castle.
Bob Castle to be serving the RMLD Policy Review Committee.
Yeah, second. Okay, all those in favor?
I call that the green team.
Green team. Can be a rockin' policy review board. Okay, E&E Board of Directors appointment, Jason.
Yes, I don't have a lot to say on this, but as it's happened a couple times in the last 6 months, but essentially, as Reading and Carter they have a board seat and we need to have the motion to appoint myself to that board. Following the call.
Anyone like to read the motion?
Sure, I'll read it.
I haven't had a chance to read any motions tonight.
We're super excited about reading the motion tonight. I feel
All
like.
right, pursuant to section 3.2 of the operating agreement of Energy New England, the Reading Municipal Light Department Board of Commissioners hereby appoints Jason Small, our new general manager, as the Class B Director of Energy New England LLC Board of Directors for a term of 3 years.
Seconds.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. 5-0.
Congratulations, Jason.
Congratulations.
Wrapping up the appointments.
What's the difference between
All right.
Class B and Class A?
I honestly do not know.
Okay.
I think the original A.
Oh.
I think the original, they want more shares.
All right, training and travel approval.
I think
I think you have a few, well, I guess we have a few. There's the MMA, MLCA Connect, which is, I think, this Friday or this coming weekend, which a few people are going to.
Yeah, so this one we actually have Ray and Dave registered for. if someone decides they want to attend and it gets approved, let me know. I can still register you in person.
Do we have any,
Sorry, you said-
any additional interest besides, right, Dave?
Why did you ask me in an email which days I was going, and there was a reason for that? I forget what the reason was.
Yeah, so basically the reason was that there was just an extra paid dinner and I didn't know if you're gonna wanna go that day.
Oh, okay.
But the conference amount was the same no matter how many days or things
Oh,
like that.
okay.
So I figured I just signed you up for Littleton.
Oh, okay, great, thanks. I didn't know if there was a higher cost to RMLD or something, but there's not. Okay.
Just your mileage, which is nice.
Or nothing in the case of Ray driving me.
Yeah, that,
About carpooling. Okay, Bob, would you mind reading?
Oh, my turn. Move that the RMLD Board of Commissioners approve for Raymond Porter and David Talbot to attend the MMA/MLCA Connect 351 to take place January 23rd through 25th, 2026 at the Menino Convention and Exhibition Center in Boston, Massachusetts.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor? Okay. Look forward to hearing the debrief, at our future meeting.
Wish I could go.
And then we have the APPA E&O conference.
Yeah, so, yeah, just to remind everybody, I'm on the APPA RP3 application panel. RP3 stands for Reliable Public Power Provider. It's a certification that municipal utilities can get. They apply through the APPA. They get reviewed in 4 areas. And then if they meet certain criteria and they score well, then they get designated. Currently, Reading is a diamond certification level of RP3, which is the highest level. So that they have a yearly meeting for the panel at the beginning of the E&O conference. So I'd like to attend that as being a member on the panel. It does provide a lot of good value. A lot of the criteria of the applications is around best business practices and system improvement, workforce development, reliability, and safety. So you get to review a lot of these applications and you get to see what other utilities are doing, and you can kind of learn from that and take stuff back. As well as it's like a 20-person panel from across the country. So you get good network connections from other utilities across the country, not just necessarily local like NEPA. So with that, and then of course there's the conference and all the topics, which I think was in the packet, which I'll attend that stuff and I can come back and report on that stuff as well. But that's primarily why I attended that conference.
You couldn't find another place other than Huntsville, Alabama.
Just go with it. It's good.
Couldn't
you
have
vote
been
for yourself?
Miami, It couldn't have been.
Can you vote for yourself now you're Reading Lake? Can you vote for Reading Lake?
Not. So for instance,
Gave me.
Danvers is in this last application for this 2025 that's going to get announced at this conference. I could not vote on that. I could not review that application and approve it. So, and I actually abstained from any local municipal that was applying, since I know a lot of the people on those. And a lot of the other members do the same thing in their area. So, but I actually can't even see the application. They set it up in the on the online that you can't even see your own.
Makes sense.
So,
Great. Can we have someone read the motion? Yes, Ray.
move that the RMLD Board of Commissioners approve Jason Small's travel to and attendance at the 2026 American Public Power Association exhibition and E&O conference to take place on March 29th through April 1st, April Fool's Day, 2026 at the Von Braun Center in Huntsville, Alabama.
Second. Rich. All those in favor? Okay, 5-0. Excellent. Update time.
I'll be brief since I've only been here for 2 weeks. So I don't have a lot to update on, but first I just want to recognize Paul for what he did. I wasn't at the December meeting when you guys did that, so I just want to formally for myself recognize all the work that he did in his short time here. I couldn't have asked for a better transition as him outgoing and me coming in. He gave me all the time I needed. He gave me a ton of information, made sure I was included on decisions that had lasting effect into my tenure. So I just want to recognize Paul for the great work he did and really helping with my transition to get off on the right foot. So just want to start with that. My 2 weeks have been busy meeting the staff. So I've had a lot of meetings. I've had a senior management meeting with them first week. I held an all hands meeting with the entire staff where they all came into the cafeteria and introduced myself and had some conversations with different groups as we sat at the tables. And then I've had I'd say small, like one-on-one or 1 to 2, 3 people down to the supervisory level of each of the varying departments, just to get an understanding of everything everybody's working on and what they're seeing. And I'm starting to get my feet on the ground. I'm starting to get around if that's going. But my first 2 weeks have been really busy just meeting everybody and getting to know some people. With that, I did want to give a couple of little updates that I know last month Paul gave an update on the AMI project. We currently, I think it was last week, installed 40 meters for test. So there's been some progress. They're still working out a couple issues between getting it into the billing system. But we continue to have a couple meetings a week on that, and it's very, very close. It will be resolved soon. And then the other thing is, I know it was mentioned during the budget season, was the cost of service study. I've had those discussions with senior management, and I think within the next month, we'll be reaching out to several vendors to discuss the study and to work on getting proposals from the vendors and then deciding which one we want to move forward with. But my thought would be that within the first 3 to 5 months, we'd probably have a draft report back from now. From what it would take 2 or 3 months for them to work on it, and if we get a draft and have some recommendations before the board, just before we have to start internally looking at the budget. I know the budget goes October, but start working on it around the July timeframe internally. So I'd like to have the results of the study before we start looking at next year's budget, so that we could have something in front of you. But that's the plan on the cost of service study. That's pretty much what I have.
Excellent. Thanks, Jason. Any questions or?
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Welcome.
thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Okay, so scheduling, looks like we have meetings pretty much scheduled out for the remainder of the year. I don't know if folks have their calendars now, but if we can just take a look at the calendar, make sure these work. Does anybody have any major conflicts that we know of at this point?
I think August one, yeah, that got moved, right? Yeah. August one, there was a potential clash, right?
Oh,
yeah.
With the NEPA conference. Yeah.
so that was moved up, or that needs to be moved?
I think we're just gonna remove it.
We're just gonna cancel it. Okay.
Similar discussion around December.
Feels like December we have a lot
There's a lot.
that we have to do, so I think we would keep that.
15th is okay.
I'm out on the March 24th meeting. I'm busy. I won't be there that week,
Okay.
so that's okay. I want to change the cadence.
No, March, no, Bob.
March, no.
Okay, I can share that.
That will be the meeting, that will be the goals vote.
Regarding the budget, that's October, right?
The
Do I
bud-
need to coordinate the Linfield meeting room? You mentioned,
Yes, and we will, Aaron and I will reach out to you about.
okay,
that this week.
Yeah, it's been good.
Great.
Schedule these committee meetings. Maybe do you guys want to schedule policy committee meeting? Over here.
Yeah,
I'm working from home mostly, so I'm around the next couple of weeks, so if any. You guys want to pick a day next week? Or, okay, I mean, whatever.
Next 2 weeks, David, I'm sorry, I'm traveling. Next 2 weeks are bad for me. I'm good after that.
yeah, next week for me is pretty busy, so early February gives me a lot more choices.
February 8th onwards works for me.
February 8th.
Onwards.
Onward, 10th.
Okay. I mean, it's up to you guys.
And we can do these in the past. Sometimes, board members have found doing them like early in the morning was really good. You can do them during lunch, like we can be flex with the committee meetings.
Yeah, it's just that I'm out of the country.
Anytime,
yeah.
just any meeting time.
If it's February 8th, then it's February 8th.
Yeah, I'm traveling the beginning of that week, so
So what works for you, Bob?
11, 12, 13 would be fine with me.
Okay,
And we did noon, in the past, and, whether you use a half an hour and just easy eat your sandwich and.
February 12th is good, February.
So yeah, so that,
So Erica, can we choose a time on February 12th?
February 12th,
We'll figure out, between
Yeah.
you and I.
We'll throw fingers.
Yep. I'm sorry.
Rock, paper, scissors.
12? Yeah,
okay, got it.
and
thank you.
so for noon?
Yeah.
And Pam, would you mind also calling, just to cover the contingency of a third member, call a general board meeting? In case a third shows up.
Yes. So called.
The thing we have left to decide is what we're ordering for lunch.
All right.
Sorry,
No.
we'll think about this. Since you're not gonna have a chair or anything picked for the first meeting, I'll just do it kind of how we do the other one, like committee structure and then policy table.
Yeah, and then we have to name that chair. And will you be able to attend, Jason?
Yes, I just looked. I should be able to. As of right now, I do. Walk it off.
Excellent. Nothing left to do except adjourn.
Yeah.
Everything.
Can you get a motion to adjourn?
Move that the RMLD Citizens Advisory Board adjourn regular session, roll call vote required.
All in favor? Bob, please.
Aye.
Vivek Soni, aye.
Tim Woods.
Charlie Crusoe.
Bob Castle, aye.
Yeah.
Move that the RMLD Board of Commissioners adjourn regular session, note, roll call vote required.
Second. Okay.
Talbot, aye.
Reporter,
Swanson, I.
Let's go direct.
Gastelakis, aye.
Great.
Thank you, everyone.